So, recently I've been playing a few classical games that I never really got to play during my youth. So I've been playing a bit of, Symphony of the Night, Resident Evil 2, a lot of ones that get people see in high regard. And recently Sony released the PaRappa the Rapper remaster, and I figured, you know what, I want to see what the buzz is about, see what gets people going so much with this game, and especially considering some people go to quite a huge extent. Trust juice. And to be honest, I'm a little curious as to why I never really played him during my youth. I mean, it seemed like a game up my alley, I played a lot, of course, Crash, Spyro, Croc, Ape Escape, quite a lot of them, and of course quite a lot of licensed games, as I mentioned before. So yeah, I went ahead and bought the game for about 10 quid, and it was good. There was some good bits to it. Few things, though, that had me a little concerned a bit, and one being the fact that this was not a very long game. Now, I'll be honest, I've never really considered how much time I spend with a game in terms of how I rate them, There's quite a few games I really love that are not too long per se, and there's a lot of games that I really do wish would be shorter because they get a little tiresome after a while. Assassin's Creed, for example. But with that said, the fact that I paid about a tenner for this game, and I have, like I said, I have no nostalgic qualities to it, and, it's an hour long, I felt a little tiny bit gypped, per se. So, here I am right now, trying to get my money's worth out of it by doing just a very cheap video to show my thoughts on the game. So, let's talk about PaRappa the Rapper then, shall we? Now, for those of you who don't know, PaRappa the Rapper is in fact a rhythm game where you play as PaRappa, who is a anamorphic dog who likes to rap, and I'll be frank, it's kind of hard to pinpoint his age, at first it kind of seems like he's like, 12 years old maybe and stuff, and then later he's able to drive and stuff, so I'm like, okay, so he's like 16, maybe a bit more age, so a bit hard to kind of guess how old he is and stuff, but whatever, there's a lot of odd things in this world, like the fact that, there's anamorphic animals and stuff, but there's also talking plants and talking vegetables, and also there's humans around, so I don't really have much opinion on that besides that, so okay. Now the story, or sort of miniature stories, I guess you could say, they're kind of a bunch of episodes connected, interwoven together, basically just has PaRappa trying to impress his friend Sunny, who he has the hots for, which a little bit odd considering he is in fact a dog and she is a flower. Dog, flower. So there's basically a few episodes, and by a few I mean 6, of PaRappa most of the time, in fact pretty much all the time, of him trying to impress her in some way, whether it be having a car, or being baking her a cake, or not being constipated. That was a bit of a weird one, but okay. But with every episode there is a problem, and PaRappa tries to solve that problem through the power of believing. And rapping as well. Though, is it really rapping when someone's saying the lines and then he just repeats them and stuff? Like, I think there's only a few times where he actually freestyles a bit, and once or twice, and so it kind of puts me more in mind of him more being in line with Vanilla Ice than Eminem, So like I said, it is pretty much a basic rhythm game of you pressing keys as they show up on the bar. There is a few problems I need to address though, and one is hard for me to kind of get around, because I'm not too sure whether this is something to do with the original or whether it's a case of a remaster. Now, when it comes to remakes, sometimes they can, improve upon them, they can perfectly fix stuff around, though there are quite a few times where they will alter something and something will be a bit off, like maybe a cutscene has a weird visual effect in it and stuff, or maybe, sound effects goes off and stuff like that, or might just take out something altogether, but there have been a few times where it has kind of quite damaged it a bit, and I'm kind of curious as to know whether the fact that you have to be super accurate with the keys, whether this was something to do with the original, and from what I'm guessing, it might be, you know, it's hard to say, which is kind of weird considering it's a very kiddish game, you know, so you wonder, like, even with easy mode, it's quite hard, what I noticed, so a bit curious about that, but, so, yeah, I'm not too sure what's up with that, but it did kind of ruin the fun a bit, you know, particularly because there were quite a few times where I failed, and failing, sadly, involves you having to start the song all over again, which did happen quite a lot with me at points. Now, there is one plus with the game, it is in fact the music. The music is very catchy, it does get kind of stuck in your head at points, and you do start to jive with it and stuff. You'll have your own little favourites, but again, must address, it is just 6 episodes, so 6 songs, so you're not going to get too much out of this, sadly. You can, in fact, in the menu, actually, for some songs, actually change the music around, so you'll still have the same lyrics, still have the same beat and cymbals, it will just have a different track behind it, which does bring a bit of uniqueness to each one, you know, you just change it up a bit. There is a very uniqueness to its mix of 2D and 3D design, and, you know, it does help stick it out from other ones, and there are some, like I said, some real charming and quite funny bits behind it all. And even just like I said, the whole world itself is kind of ridiculous, and as I say, like, as someone who took a while to get their driving license, considering the fact that PaRappa does it in like 3 minutes in one song, it does make me want to say, okay, great, thanks. Took me quite a few years to get it done, but for him, it's just done like that. So great, thanks PaRappa. Makes it seem so easy. And that's kind of all I can really say on the game. There is not much here. It is 1 hour's worth I got out of it. Maybe, like I said, if you have some real nostalgic attachment to this game, you might want to pick this up, you know. You might bring back a lot of good memories and stuff. You might say, it's a good price, you know. But for me, I personally suggest, if you don't have that nostalgic attachment, maybe just wait until it's at a very, very, very low price, or maybe wait and see if perhaps Sony goes ahead and puts as a free PSN game of the month, you know, so yeah. So thanks again for tuning in. This video was a bit low budgeted and admittedly was kind of to see if I could free flow a bit more with my conversational talks, which maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, I don't know. But with that said, thank you once again for tuning in. If you happen to like some of my more scripted videos, you can check those out. And of course, you can check me out on Facebook and Twitter. And yeah, be seeing you around.